It is absolutely imperative that we defeat Donald Trump, somebody who lies all of the time, was undermining our Constitution and moving us into an autocratic type of society. We are united on that. And as I have said many times, if I do not win the Democratic nomination, and I hope and expect to win it, I will support Joe Biden. And Joe Biden has said that if he does not win the Democratic nomination, he will support me, and that is true, I think, for all of the candidates who have run for the Democratic nomination. We are united in our desire to defeat Donald Trump. The question, I think, that the nation has got to ask ourselves is, which candidate, which campaign is best positioned to defeat Donald Trump? Which candidate has the best record to be able to stand up to the ugly attacks that will be coming from Trump and from his allies? Which campaign will be able to energize the American people? I think those are the honest issues that the American people are now examining. We don't have to, in terms of the coming general election, we don't have to predict what Donald Trump will be saying about Joe Biden, because he is already making those attacks. Yesterday, Donald Trump, who won Michigan, who won Wisconsin, who won Pennsylvania by modest votes, but he won, made one of his major campaign tenets his opposition to NAFTA and PNTR with China. And in 2016, he criticized those trade policies as being disastrous. And just yesterday, he once again made that claim. And the truth is, and we have to be honest about this, that NAFTA and PNTR, permanent normal trade relations with China, cost this country well over 4 million good-paying jobs. In Michigan alone, these disastrous trade agreements led to the loss of more than 150,000 good-paying jobs. And not only job loss, when good-paying jobs go, you're involved in a race to the bottom, and employers can pay lower wages. So these trade agreements have been a disaster for the people of Michigan, for the Midwest, and in fact, for the state of Vermont, and for the entire country. Well, Joe Biden and I have very strong different positions in terms of how we reacted to NAFTA and to PNTR. And that is why back in 1994, during the NAFTA debate, and in 2000 during the PNTR debate, I not only opposed those agreements, I can remember like it was yesterday. I was on a picket line in Montpelier, Vermont, with workers opposing these disastrous trade agreements. I vigorously opposed these agreements. I helped lead the opposition to these agreements. Joe Biden supported those agreements. And that is a fundamental difference about our approach toward the trade union movement, toward the needs of working people. But it is not just the trade agreement, which is so important to the Midwest. If Democrats are going to regain control of the White House and make sure we win the Senate, make sure we retain control in the House, we're going to have to be very, very clear about our consistency, our support for programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans' needs. As I think all of you know, Donald Trump, in his budget, called for massive cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and cuts to Social Security. Now, Trump lies all of the time, so despite what he is doing in his budget, he is claiming that he supports Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, which of course he does not. But he is already attacking Joe Biden for the fact that Biden has been on the floor of the Senate in years past calling for cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and veterans programs as a part of a Bowles-Simpson approach, and balanced budget efforts. And these are issues that Trump will certainly be emphasizing in the campaign. And I'm very proud to say that I have consistently led the effort to protect Social Security, to expand Social Security benefits. When Bowles-Simpson, this effort to cut Social Security and other important programs, was gaining steam, I helped put together a caucus in the Senate, which we call the Defending Social Security Caucus. And what we said is, when so many of our seniors are trying to get by on $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 a year Social Security, we're not going to cut Social Security. We're not going to raise the retirement age. We're not going to fudge around with the cost of living adjustments. And that is my record. But again, it's not only trade and it's not only Social Security. If we are going to win this election, and as I've said many times, anyone who underestimates the strength of Trump and his campaign is making a mistake. He will be a very formidable opponent for a number of reasons. We've got to rally our base, and that means rally the women's community, rally the LGBT community. And on these issues, especially at a time when women are under severe political assault in Congress, in the Supreme Court, in state governments all over this country, where people are determined to try to take away a woman's right to control her own body, I think people all over this country, women and men, are going to look at the record of which candidate has been consistent and strong in terms of defending a woman's right to choose. On this issue, Joe Biden repeatedly voted for the Hyde Amendment. And the Hyde Amendment is an amendment which would deny lower-income women access to Medicaid funds in order to make their own reproductive decisions. I am very proud to say that I have a lifetime voting record in support of a woman's right to control her own body. And it is no different with our brothers and sisters in the LGBT community. Today, thank God, it is relatively easy to be a champion of gay rights. Virtually every Democratic candidate for president was, and I believe sincerely, a champion of gay rights, including Joe Biden. But that was not the case 25 years ago, when it was not so easy to stand up for the LGBT community. And during that time, I stood with the LGBT community when there was a very difficult vote. I remember it very well, because we got a lot of negative response from Vermont. And that is the so-called DOMA Act, Defense of Marriage Act. And what that act was about was saying, in Congress led by right-wing Republicans, is that what marriage is about is a marriage between a man and a woman. That's what it is. We reject gay marriage. That was a tough vote. And in the House, I was part of a minority who voted to say, I'm sorry, marriage is marriage, and we're not going to look at gender. People have a right to love each other regardless of their gender. But in the Senate, it was also a tough vote. 14 members of the United States Senate at that time voted against the so-called Defense of Marriage Act. Joe Biden was not one of them. Furthermore, Joe supported banning opening gay Americans from serving in the military, the so-called don't ask, don't tell epic. My view was very different. So as we enter the moment in this campaign where we come down to a two-person race, I think it is important for us to differentiate our records, and I intend to do that. So let me once again say that Joe Biden is a friend of mine. And if Joe wins the nomination, I will be there for him, and I'm confident that if I win the nomination, Joe will be there for me. And that's true. I think I speak for all of the Democratic candidates who contested this nomination. But it is important to take a look and see which candidate can win in states like Michigan, like Pennsylvania, like Ohio, like Wisconsin. And I think for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is our long-term record. Joe's been around for a long time, so have I. And I think people want to take a look at those records.